Be a couple of showers and a thunderstorm with breezy conditions in the afternoon. The high will reach 71. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Well, as you just heard from the traffic report, there's a lot of dicey situations on the roadways because of the extreme fog. Please drive carefully. There's a semi-truck that is dangling over a bridge on 290. I mean, I can't even look at the footage because, well, I can't even imagine. So be careful out there. We are Amy Jacobson and Jeannie Ives, hosts of The Real Story, Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to noon. Programming note at 11:35 today. I know we've been teasing it all morning, but you're going to want to hear from a local who made national news. He gave an interview to a digital outlet, but he has never spoken. We've never heard his voice, and it's a situation that you're going to want to hear, and that's at 11:35 today. If you miss it, you can always download the AM 560 app and go to podcasts and click on The Real Story with Jeannie Ives and Amy Jacobson, and it is there. So we're filling in today for Dan. John Anthony will be in tomorrow, and Dan will be back on Monday.
Yeah, so listen, this is an important part of what's happening in the Iranian war, and that is essentially this Iranian strike all about China. A number of people have been talking about it, writing about it. I know the Free Press, let's see here. Jeepers. What is her name? Sorry. Oh yes. Okay. Zineb Rioba, she wrote about it just recently, talking about how China's essentially, after the Israeli strikes earlier in June of 2025, has been trying to put Iran back together, shipping them over 1,000 tons of sodium perchlorate, a key missile propellant ingredient. And in fact, they need to keep their relationship with Iran going as China buys more than 80% of Iran's crude oil exports. Anyway, is this all about China? I don't think so. I think there's more to it, but certainly there's an aspect to what is happening in Iran that will affect China. And there's nobody better to discuss this than Gordon Chang. Of course, he is the author of The Coming Collapse of China and numerous other books. And he talks about this extensively, knows China back and forth, and he joins us right now. Gordon, thank you so much for coming on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Well, thank you so much, guys.
So what about this? Is the Iran strike all about China?
It's a lot about China because Iran would not be able to disrupt the international scene were it not for China. And it's not just that China bought 87.2% of Iran's exports of crude oil last year, in other words, financing the regime, but it was also diplomatic support, propaganda support, weapons, as you just talked about. Iran has a nuclear weapons program because of China. It's actually a Chinese program that's been transplanted onto Iranian soil. So you look at this, and Iran very much is a creature of China. I mean, the Iranians don't think they're proxies of China, but the Chinese think the Iranians are their proxies.
So are we getting a twofer here then? We take out Iran, and then we also really decapitate China to some degree.
Yes, and that is also true of Venezuela. It's going to be true of Cuba. President Trump has been going after China's friends around the world, and that is, and this is something that Xi Jinping, I'm sure, is apoplectic about, because Xi Jinping has been trying to encircle the United States. Now we have President Trump encircling the Chinese. This is Maoist foreign policy. It goes back to 1949 when Mao won the Chinese Civil War by encircling the cities from the countryside. Xi Jinping has always thought that we're the city. Now Trump says, look, I'm going to employ the same same tactic against you. And by the way, Trump's tactic is working, and Xi Jinping's tactic is not working.
Well, last summer when we attacked Iran, my son was actually attached to the USS Nimitz, and it moved from the South China Seas into the Persian Gulf in support of, I forgot whatever aircraft carrier was there as well. And now we've got a situation where we have two aircraft carriers sitting in the Persian Gulf. The Nimitz, by the way, is getting mothballed, so that one's going out of commission. And is this an opportune time for perhaps China to strike Taiwan while we are engaged in Iran, or is that not going to happen?
I don't think it's going to happen, but it is an opportune time because you have the Abraham Lincoln in the Persian Gulf. You have the Gerald Ford in the Mediterranean. Both are very much involved in these operations. And we're sort of bare in East Asia. The good news, though, is that the Chinese military is in a disarray because of all the purges. There's just nobody at the top anymore. So, for instance, the Communist Party's Central Military Commission, which controls the Chinese military, normally has 7 members, now has only 2. Xi Jinping, who's not a military officer, plus a general who's a commissar and not an operational officer. So the chain of command has been severed. Chinese generals and admirals are more concerned about the guy in the office next door than they are about the United States. So we've got a little bit of breathing room, but maybe not too much.
Well, I have a few questions for you. Is Iran have they considered China an ally?
The Iranians would like the Chinese to do more for them, but in the sense when Iran looks around the world, China has been the most important of their diplomatic relations. The Russians just are not able to help because they're fully involved in Ukraine, and we just talked about all the ways that Beijing has been supporting the Ayatollahs up to now. We've got to remember that in the run-up to the strikes, there were Chinese cargo planes, a lot of them landing on Iranian soil. We don't know exactly what was in them, but we can be sure that it were weapons, probably advanced radars, all sorts of things that the Iranians have from China. So, Iran may not have friends, but to the extent that it does, or did, because the Chinese are not helping the Iranians right now. I mean, to the extent it is, it's Beijing.
Right. But here's the deal. I mean, we all know that, China is dependent on Iranian oil. They were dependent on Venezuelan oil. What's going to happen? Because that supply is going to be disrupted, if not cut off.
A couple things. First of all, we've seen price spikes in China right now. Gasoline is up 11.0% in the last few days. Diesel is up 13.5%. The National Development and Reform Commission of China has ordered refiners not to enter into any new contracts for the export of refined products. As a matter of fact, has told them to cancel contracts they already have if they can get away with it. We also can guess that the Chinese are going to buy Russian oil, and the Russians are not going to sell it at the cheaper prices that they once did because they know the Chinese are desperate. And China may have to draw down its strategic petroleum reserve. Though Xi Jinping, I'm sure, doesn't want to do that. That's, depending on who you listen to, between 100 and 140 days of import cover. So while it's a large reserve, it's not as big as the Chinese want it to be.
Okay, so I still think that obviously this attack on Iran was essentially preventative deterrence, as I believe Victor Davis Hanson classified it. It was about our interests, our national interests, and not having a nuclear-armed theocracy that's radical Islamist. I think that was really the reason. Now, you look at the China situation here. I mean, some people may want to speculate that this was a backdoor way to get better negotiations with China on trade or whatnot. That may be secondary after the fallout of them not having the oil that they need to run their economy and other stuff. But what's your opinion of all of that? Is this just really a backdoor way for Trump to get better trade negotiations?
Well, I mean, that's a result.
Okay.
We'll a much stronger bargaining position, but that's not the reason why Trump did this. There's a lot of talk about, this was sort of like a preventative issue. But we got to remember that this was also imminent. And it was imminent because the Iranian president at the end of December publicly said that his country was in a state of war with the United States. Right after that, we see all these Chinese cargo planes land on Iranian soil. We have to speculate what was in them. And we also know that not only did Iran boast of having highly enriched uranium, but they also had the components for a North Korean ICBM, intercontinental ballistic missile, the Hwasong-15. A Hwasong 15 has a range of 12,000 kilometers, which means it could hit about just every square inch of American soil. So this was something that had to be done. The Iranians made it very clear that they considered us to be an enemy. They said they were in a war, and they were gearing up. So I think President Trump did absolutely the right thing. We can characterize it any way we want, but it was absolutely necessary.
Well, he's taken out one part of the axis of evil and hitting the other part of the axis of evil, and for that, I'm grateful. But I'm actually really grateful for your analysis, especially what you said at the end there, because so many people want to debate whether or not this was an eminent concern, and you just put that all to rest. Gordon Chang, thank you so much for joining us. You can follow him on X at Gordon G. Chang. I encourage people to do that because you're going to be a lot more informed.
Yeah, it's Gordon G. Chang, Chang, author of Plan Red, China's project to destroy America, and the Great U.S.-China Tech War. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Chang. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you, and you guys stay safe. Chicago is a little safer today because of what President Trump did, and so is the rest of the United States.
Yes, and I wish our Democratic leaders could acknowledge that, especially in Chicago, because they think it's because of their works why crime is down and homicides are down. So thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you.
And he joined us at AM 560, The Answer.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this